sketchy outline about Rene Descartes, his philosophy. Now, as I said, he is called the father of modern philosophy. So, you get also one more exercise. The exercise is, well, life and works of Rene Descartes is to be also in one big paragraph. Follow? Yeah. In one big paragraph, the life and works of Rene Descartes is already, most probably with your class notes, it's already there in the front. Normally what I used to do was, I assign all these philosophers to different students in the class, and as we begin with a new philosopher, I used to ask them to read it out and then ask further clarifications, because that is also a kind of homework or an assignment given to the students. So, my dear students who listen to me, yes, life and works of Rene Descartes, please get ready. And then the nature and division of philosophy. For him, philosophy is something like, exactly like a tree. Philosophy could be compared to that of a tree that you have studied already in your first year, is it not? Yes, you studied. Yes, the trunk of it, at the base of it, the root is the philosophy, is metaphysics, and then the trunk of it is called physics, and the different branches are called, yes, the other aspects of it, namely medicine, theory of knowledge, and all that is his division of nature of philosophy. And then, well, we go into the first part of it, namely in the philosophy of knowledge, the Cartesian method. Why it is called Cartesian method, that you should know it. Cartesius, Descartes, Rene Descartes, Renatus Cartesius is his name. Follow. Rene Descartes' original name is Renatus Cartesius, Cartesius, Renatus Cartesius. So therefore we call it Cartesian method. So if suppose somebody is asking, why this Cartesian method? Because this method is attributed, or is the method propounded by Rene Descartes. He is also called Cartesius. So the Cartesian method. So the Cartesian method is simply, well, we have three aspects of it. Clear, no? Yes, three ways of this Cartesian method. Method can be described in three forms, namely his own habit of thinking. Yes, we all of us think, is it not? Yes, his own habit of thinking. Habit of thinking. In other words, yes, all of us have our own way of thinking. Yeah, that is something very, very, very unique. Each one's way of thinking. That's why some people, yes, they have, that's why the inductive method came. Francis Bacon, we said, yes, inductive method came. Well, there is also scholastic method, Aristotelian method. What is the Aristotelian method? Deductive method. What is the speciality of deductive method? Deducing from one to the other. So you have the major premise, you have the minor premise, and then you draw the conclusion. Give me the best example of this scholastic Aristotelian model of thinking. All men are, all men are mortal. All men are mortal. Then, is it the minor premise? Give me that Aristotelian form of thinking. All men are mortal. Then, the second premise.
Man is immortal.
No.
Man is immortal.
No. After having said all men are mortal, you cannot say God is immortal. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. I use simply that expression. Socrates. is a man. Therefore,
Socrates is a mortal.
Socrates is mortal. That is what is called, my God. I will have to switch it off and then give you something. Okay, whatever it is. Yeah, that is the basic Aristotelian deductive method. So what do you do? Deducing from the major premise. What is the major premise? All men are mortal. Then the minor one, you can say Girish is a man. Then Girish is mortal. From the major, you do the minor, and then the conclusion from the major and the minor. So Girish, therefore Girish, minor premise is taken, and then what is the speciality of all men? All men are mortal. So that is deductive method. Francis Bacon with his inductive method. What is that? Observation, verification, and prediction. That is, science is more based on this inductive method. So, Cartesian method. So, one is his own habit of thinking. Then he made use of scholastic philosophy. So, there are three. One is his own habit of thinking. Second one, scholastic thinking. And then when we study Rene Descartes, we studied Rene Descartes as a philosopher. Well, he was also a mathematician. Don't forget. So, after my ordination, I was in one place. I had a friend called Benny. He was an MSc, MEd student. Now he is a professor. He specialized in mathematics. While talking to him about Descartes, he said, "Oh, he is our beloved mathematician." I said, "He is also our beloved modern philosopher." Follow? So that's why these philosophers are. So when you go into the life and works, you will understand. So a lot of contribution that they have done to the humanity. And when we take Rene Descartes, we take Rene Descartes from the point of view of his contribution to philosophy. And those who study maths, and they look at him from the point of view of maths. Clear? The Niccolo Machiavelli, a social philosopher, we also take him. But then sociology, for sociology, he is a beloved. Follow? For us also, he is a nice thinker because he is a philosophical, social thinker. So, therefore, well, Cartesian method consists of his own habit of thinking, scholastic logic, and then he made use of mathematical precision. That's something very important. So, philosophy is also precise. That's why, well, I have with me the second year's answer sheet. Follow? In November, I came for class and then conducted exam, and I went through the paper. As I went through the paper, I was going on correcting every letter, every sentence, every mistake and all that. So I was asking myself, "Oh, what's the fun of doing all these things? They need only to get their marks, you know." Yes, and then the struggle I undertook. And finally, when everything is valued, 3 people are missing. Then I called Avinash. Avinash, there are 3 people missing. And then the mark sheet was given to me. In that, 3 people have not appeared, but 2 people have already written the exam. According to the file, they have not appeared, but then their paper is with me. All this confusion, clear. And then I went through it and then called him. I said, "You should be in the office, and then I would like to get a little clarification." "No, Father, you talk, I know it," he said. And then spoke everything. At that time, I was asking myself, how much time I spent for all these things. Clear, no? And then went through the answers. I was not very happy because there was already in the class a lot of marks assigned, because for all the questions that I asked, I was assigning mark, not punishment. Follow? So, and those who got very high mark also were eligible candidates, and all that is, we thought so many are getting failed. Then I thought, okay, this many, let it go for pass, and then they passed, and then I thought, still there are many. Then I said, let this be the criterion, and okay. And then still there are others, and all that is. Finally, I was asking myself, what kind of a mad exercise I undertook. They need only to get the answer, the the marks, clear, no? And after I understood the meaning of it only after 2 months when I was asked to be the principal of the degree college. Therefore, what I packed and kept first was, do you know what it is? Their marks, their answer papers. Follow? Their answer papers. So, when I meet them for the first time, I will give to every gentleman what they have written, clear? And then all corrections that I have made on the answer sheet, clear? Follow? Yeah. At that time when the job was completed, I was exhausted like, See, I will not be interacting with the students to give them this paper. But then I was so happy when the appointment came, clear, no? So you're going to be the principal of the degree college, and then, then I thought, before our clothes was arranged and kept and other things, I said, this file, let it be there. And that is the answer sheets given by second year philosophers who are now going to be the third years. So my first encounter with them will be giving up the answer sheets of a modern philosophy, namely enlightenment and Immanuel Kant and others. So, in other words, afterwards my joy was tripled, not doubled, tripled. Why? Because the exercise that I undertook has its fruit in encountering the real persons in front of me. Otherwise, I had already through WhatsApp sent the marks and all. But then, yes, you take your paper. You take your paper. Look at your own creation. Clear? Follow? Look at your own creation. That will be a wonderful encounter. I am eagerly waiting when the classes begin. No? Not these online classes, but then the real classes. Follow? So, you see the joy? With so much a thrill only, I entered into the campus. So, now look at his own habit of thinking, scholastic logic, and mathematics. Got stuck up. Oh, Steve, stop. Okay. All right. So that is Cartesian method. And now, intuition and deduction. Intuition, you have already. You know it already. Deduction, deductive method, drawing conclusion from the major and the minor. So that is also part of his method. Rules of method is there. Descartes' rules of method. To accept nothing as true that is not recognized by reason as clear and distinct. In other words, never accept anything as true unless the reason distinguishes it as clear and distinct. Therefore, one of the characteristics of modern philosophy is that it is clear and distinct. What do you mean by clarity? Clarity. Yeah, so we say the day is very clear. In other words, it is not cloudy, it is not misty, it is not foggy. Means, yes, it's very clear. What do you mean by distinctness? Distinctness. Distinctness is also part of clarity, but different from clarity. In clarity, you are able to make the distinction. So, when everything is clear, we say, well, this is a classroom, there are fans, there are tubes, there are chairs, and there's a table and an ambo and things like that. So, when there is clarity, you are able to make the distinction. In other words, you find something distinct from the other when you have clarity. Therefore, clarity and distinctness are the true characteristics of modern philosophy. You don't simply talk it is something like Indian philosophy, and Western philosophy. Yeah, Indian philosophy, what is the speciality? Brahman, everything is Brahman. Brahman is everything. Everything is Brahman. You make a kind of twist between all this. Clear. But then when you come to Western philosophy, you say these things are clear and distinct. So, look at his rules of method. Never accept anything as true that is not recognized by reason as clear and distinct. Then the second point, analyze complex ideas into simple sentences or simple ideas. Analyze complex ideas into simple ideas. In other words, while studying sentences, we call first simple sentence, is it not? And then complex sentence, is it not? Then compound sentences, then complex compound sentences. Now, when you begin first, what do you say? Yes, my name is so and so. I come from such a village. I am a student. But then, as you grow, you combine all these three sentences into one. Namely, my name is Cherian. I come from here and my parents are alive. So you go on adding comma, conjunction and all, and you make complex sentences. So in other words, philosophical thinking is always complex, that he says make it simple. And that is the second point. What is that? Analyze complex ideas into simple ideas. And then third one, to reconstruct, beginning with the simple ideas and working synthetically to the complex. So in other words, slowly, systematically you construct. And then the fourth one is to make an accurate and complete enumeration of all the data of the problem that I should be certain of having left nothing. So in other words, you make the complex into simple and then you try to reconstruct it. And in the process of reconstruction, you make sure that you don't lose anything that is important. So that is the rules of method. And then we have the Cartesian method. Method is never accept, that I will simply read it out. Okay, that is about never accept anything as true unless it is proved and all that characteristics. Okay, methodic doubt, the characteristics of methodic doubt. Doubt is universal, doubt is methodic, doubt is provisional, and doubt is theoretical, and it cannot be used for practical life. For Descartes, doubt is but a means which he hastens to abandon as soon as he discovers the truth. So that is his methodic doubt. That is in general simply the starting point of his philosophy, the Cartesian method. So we go into, is it time? 30 more? 4:10. Okay. The Cartesian method, that is something very interesting, and it's compared to your previous philosophy. You need to know it thoroughly. Once you know it, you have the understanding of modern philosophy. Descartes. We have seen already the Renaissance, and we have seen already there the social developments, scientific outlooks, and then the religious upheavals, and so many things. So in other words, in every field of life, they were questioning the scholastic philosophical trends or the basis of the basis of scholastic philosophy was called into question. And then everywhere new upheavals was there. So Descartes was also a man of his time, and he understood that people are asking so many questions about all aspects of life. Now, what is true and how to distinguish true from falsehood? Therefore, there is something called, he went into a deep meditation, it seems. That is Cartesian meditation, clear? So, he was for a few days in silence, and he was thinking about, so many people are talking about that is truth, this is truth, and then lot of contradiction coming. Now, where to start with his philosophy? So he said, well, listen very carefully. The sentence is very clear. He says, I am a human being who is thinking. Now, say for example, even if the entire content of my thinking, follow? Even if the entire content of my thinking is wrong, no problem. Okay. But you cannot question the fact that I am thinking. Okay, the content of my thinking you call into question, but the fact that I am thinking cannot be called into question or cannot be doubted. Therefore, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore am. You look at the fact that I am thinking cannot be called into question. I think, therefore am, I am. That is cogito, ergo sum. There is, even if the content of what I am thinking, even if you doubt, the fact that I am thinking cannot be questioned, doubted. Therefore, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Therefore, cogito becomes the starting point. Cogito becomes the starting point of his philosophy. In other words, the thinking thing. That is what I call the thinking subject. The thinking subject becomes the starting point of his philosophy. Now we look at scholasticism. The starting point was God. And now modern philosophy will start with the thinking thing, the subject, and then they move on to God and to nature. That's why in the beginning I said modern philosophy is a subject-centered thinking. Follow? Now things are clear for you. It is becoming clearer. And so when you go into the other philosophers also, well, the starting point is the subject. So that is the first part of it. And then immediately he goes on to the philosophy of God. Why? Yes, he said only am. Follow? He said only about am. I am, he said. I was, I will be. He did not say. Therefore, immediately he jumps on to the philosophy of God, proves for God's existence, the causal argument, because I have an idea of a God. Causal argument you studied in your medieval philosophy. But then it is a slightly different argument. What is the argument? The causal argument. I have an idea of a perfect being in my mind. Being an imperfect being, I cannot be the cause of. Your causal argument, what you studied in the first year, is different. So I cannot be the cause of this idea in my mind. So that must have been created in me by a cause greater than myself. So that is causal argument. Follow? And then the ontological argument is more or less same. Ontological argument was propounded by St. Anselm. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God above. So that is St. Anselm's argument is also brought in. Clear? So if we were in the class, well, these were all opportunities for securing marks for you in the class. Yes, simply I ask who is the proponent of ontological argument? What was his argument? Yes, St. Anselm. Clear? Yes, a similar argument propounded by somebody else. Who is that? Yeah, you say, you get the mark. No problem. Because for me, philosophy is not simply you study a section and, as I said in the beginning, throw the paper and then you shake your buttocks and go around. No. But rather, it is a thought thinking about itself. Therefore, when you come to next year, I will tell you, you'll have to take a summary of all what you have studied in the first year and in the second year, because it's very important for your third year reflection. That's what tomorrow when I take for class for third years, I am going to say. Well, the great homework that I am going to assign for them will be, the philosophical understanding of man, the ethical understanding of man, God understanding. That you studied starting with Plato, Aristotle, Thomas, Augustine and all. And then Descartes, Spinoza, Leibniz, Locke, Berkeley, Hume, Kant and all others. Because all these understanding or definitions are important when we come to the third year. Third year is an advanced course on anthropology and theodicy and ethics. Follow? That's what I'm going to give them tomorrow. That's going to be the stop to. Okay, I will stop it now. Immediately I will stop. So, therefore, nature of God. What is the nature of God? Nature of God is causa sui. Causa sui means self-caused. Why? He is self-caused. There is no cause causing him to come into existence. Otherwise, we will go in ad infinitum, the regress. To avoid that, he defines God as causa sui, self-caused. Therefore, there is no other cause causing him into existence, but he himself is the, lot can be said about that. Christian understanding of God. Simply, causa sui. Why? He is self-caused. In the beginning was the Word was with God, Word was God, and in 1:14 we say the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Clear? So he pitched his tent among us. So that is nature of God. And then we go into the philosophy of the world. So you look at, you simply started with the mere existence of man, and then he jumped on to God, and next one will be nature, the existence of the external world, and finally, the substance. He defined substance. Substance as that which exists in itself without the support of anything else for its existence. And thus there is only one substance. That is, the substance is absolute substance. And there are two relative substances, namely body and mind. And one is material, the other is immaterial. One is, there are too many distinctions between one and the other. One is corporeal, the other is one is temporal and the other is eternal. One is material, the other is immaterial. Then there arises the problem. Well, how do these two exist in one human being? A human being consists of body and soul, or body and mind. One is immaterial, one is material, one is spiritual, one is material. If that's the case, how are they united? How one is related to the other? He said somewhere at the back of it, a pineal gland. So that is, his theory is called interactionism. Body and soul, matter and body interact each other in the pineal gland. And that is what is called the theory of interactionism. Now, when we come to Spinoza, he will say psycho-physical parallelism. In other words, for him there is only one substance. But in Descartes, there is absolute substance and there are two relative substances. Relative substances interact with each other in the pineal gland. Therefore, he calls it interactionism. When you come to Spinoza, well, there is only one substance, and everything is the manifestation of the one and the same substance. If so, then body and mind, how they are related to each other, that theory is called psycho-physical parallelism. In the sense, whatever happens in the body happens in the mind. Whatever happens in the mind happens also in the body, because there is only one substance. That is what is called psycho-physical parallelism. Well, the third one is, well, it is Leibniz. Leibniz, for him, everything is monad. Therefore, the supreme monad created all other monads in such a way that there is pre-established harmony. So these are how these three philosophers are speaking about the body-mind relationship. Follow? The body-mind relationship. Now here only you need to remember Descartes. Descartes is telling, well, it is what is called interactionism. The body is interacting with the mind, and the mind is interacting with the body in the pineal gland. When you come to Spinoza, this is called, there is only one substance. Therefore, it is called psycho-physical parallelism. You will find it only when you come to this one only, Spinoza only. And then in Leibniz it is called pre-established harmony, because it's a fitting opportunity to bring all these together here. Follow? That's why I brought all the three. So one is called interactionism, the second one is called psycho-physical parallelism, the third one is called pre-established harmony. And then his definition of man. Man is a substance, that's all. Clear? The body and mind. And then finally, morality, philosophy of man. That is called provisional morality and definitive morality. Provisional morality means as you grow, you have. And once you come into philosophical truth, you have the definitive morality. So that is what is all about Rene Descartes. Well, in that, we need to remember that the Cartesian method, you need to go to your class notes and read very clearly the Cartesian method. And then the cogito as a starting point, that is in theory of knowledge, number 2. And then the philosophy of God proves for God's existence, nature of God and all that is. And then his order of being, namely substance, attributes and modes. There is one absolute substance and two relative substances. And then provisional body-mind relationship and the solution proposed by him. These are some of the important points. And the homework for you from Rene Descartes is his life and works. The most important area to be covered and to be in the notes you need to go through is Cartesian method. Cogito as the starting point of his philosophy, that is one point. Philosophy of God, proves for God's existence. And nature of God, proves for God's existence. Well, causal argument and ontological argument, which you have already studied, but in a Cartesian model, redefined. And then nature of God. Nature of God is called causa sui, self-caused. And then the external world and all that is connected with. So that is what is all about Descartes. And kindly I request you also go through the notes, and then when you have the doubts, please put it either in the WhatsApp or in the email. Thank you.